Bengals come up short yet again in their quest for a Super Bowl ring, losing to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship by just a field goal. But there's still plenty of optimism in the organization that has now reached the AFC Championship 2 years in a row, the Super Bowl the year prior. Considering in 2020, Chris, can you remember their record? Or in 2019?
Well, if I add them together, I think it adds up to 6-25-1.
Close. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Good job.
That's what it said on the bottom of the screen anyway.
They had not won a playoff game since 1990. So good news, but look, it's very disappointing that they have not still won a Super Bowl. Bengals playoff history with and without Joe Burrow, 5-2 with, 5-14 without. Our crew in Indy sitting down with Bengals head coach Zac Taylor. Let's send it out to them.
Thank you very much. Jonathan Jones with Pete Prisco alongside Bengals head coach Zac Taylor. Zac, first of all, thank you very much for joining us, of course. We'll start with this, Zac. You guys have been so close these past 2 years. There's incredible expectations. There's relevancy with the Cincinnati Bengals. There's also the whole point of getting over the hump. How do you manage those expectations with how you guys have to take that final last step?
Well, our players believe in what we're doing. And yeah, we've been close the last 2 years, haven't gotten it done. But there's a belief that we got the right people in the building to keep attacking it, and it's a hard process that you really got to start over every single May, and get your team back and get back to the foundation of the things that we believe in. But we got a good group of men, and I think that we'll keep fighting for these championships.
Zac, this is crazy talk time. There's a lot of stuff out there. As it relates to your team, T. Higgins going to be traded. Joe Mixon's not going to be back. Can you touch on both of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things are kind of made up out of thin air, and so they don't all deserve a response. But we got a great collection of talent, and there's always going to be narratives and headlines around those players, and how can you keep so many great players. And I think we've always got a great plan in place to let those guys be a big part of what we do.
With Joe Burrow, I can't believe it's been 3 questions and we're finally asking about Joe Burrow. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of contract talk. I'm not going to ask you about his contract because I don't think that you're going to tell us much. But how do you manage the potential, let's call it distraction, or just how big of a story it is with this team?
It's a story, but it's not a distraction. You know, we got a lot of great players who are always undergoing contract negotiations, and I think that's what's so special about our group is they're not distracted by the outside noise. They get in the locker room, they put their work in, they like being around each other, and whatever narratives fly outside the building, so be it. That's part of being in the NFL.
And when I go back to last season, I think about the appendectomy that Joe had, right? And I look at how his season ended. If that hadn't happened, is he an NFL MVP this year?
That's impossible for me to predict. You know, I'd certainly support that he's an MVP type of player. He has that type of season for us really the last 2 years. However the votes fall is out of our control, but we're certainly happy with the way that he performs for us.
I talked to you about this before in the past, about the perception of the Bengals organization from the outside. You guys have won the last 2 years. You haven't won it all, but you've become a winning team. Do you think that perception has changed about the organization?
You know, it's good for people to say good things about you and believe in what you're doing. We feel like we just got to keep winning, and maybe we turn over one person at a time. But, again, that's not why we do it. We know that the people in Cincinnati and our fan base support what we're doing and like what we're doing, and that's what's important to us. And whatever the national narrative it is whatever it's going to be. But we have a really fun team. We got guys that are easy to pull for. They work really hard, and we're really proud to represent Cincinnati.
But to Pete's point on this, whether it's a national narrative or not, it does help that you guys are winning, that you are relevant for free agency as well. That it's not, Cincinnati wants to talk to you. It's, hey, Bengals want to talk to you. When you are meeting with these agents, if players come out to Indy or whatever, I mean, does that not help, especially when we're talking about free agency?
It certainly doesn't hurt. You know, I think players around the league and other people around the league see that we can win games, and we really enjoy the process. Our players genuinely like what we're doing and have fun, and we want their personalities to shine through. You know, we don't want to limit that stuff. We got great personalities. They've really affected, probably generations of children in the Cincinnati and Ohio area. So I like for those personalities to be shown. Maybe people around the league see that, hey, you can come to Cincinnati and be who you want to be, and we'll support that. And it's been fun going through that process with our players.
Don't you show a little personality? Go to the bar after the game and have a little good old time with the fellas, right?
I have very limited personality. I'm usually in those bars for about 4 or 5 minutes max. but it is good. We don't ever get to really enjoy that time. We usually play the game. It's a fun game, and then you go home and you get back the next day. So to be able to get that peek into what our community is like immediately after a game has been really fun for me to partake in the last 2 years.
You guys have a lot of free agents who are up. I mean, Jesse Bates, both safeties are up, Eli Apple, Pratt. I mean, you got a lot of guys that are up. How do you handle wanting to keep a player who's been around for a while and realizing with the cap and with Joe Burrow's contract coming up, it's going to be tough to do? Yeah,
that's the situation we find ourselves in, and I think when you've got a really good team, you're going to have a lot of players that are worthy of being paid good contracts, and so that's a process that we're undertaking now of trying to put together our best team for next season and seasons beyond. And those guys, all you mentioned, have been a big part of us winning and a big part of the culture we've created in the locker room. And so now you just undergo the process of trying to put your best team on the field next year.
What would it mean for you, for the coaching staff, for the quarterback, for the entire organization to keep this wide receiver trio together of Jamar Chase and Boyd and Higgins?
It's a great group of weapons, and in some cases I'm the head coach. I'm also called to plays as well, so they make my job a lot easier. I fight for those guys. I love being around those guys. They work as hard as any position group in the league. I think Troy Walters, our receiver coach, does a great job of being demanding of them, forming a great relationship with them, and getting the most out of them. And they're willing to put in all the work to be great players. And so it's just a fun trio to be around.
Your offensive line, you seemed like you went into the year feeling like you had solved a lot of the problems that were there the year before. Then you had a ton of injuries on the offensive line. Where are you with that group right now? I know Lyle Collins suffered a major injury.
Yeah, those guys are all under contract coming back, and like you said, we had those guys consistently through, I think, the first 15 weeks. And then lost both tackles and a guard, going into the playoffs. And that's what a lot of teams deal with, so you got to have depth there. We've drafted depth over the years. Those guys got to continue to develop and come on, and they got their opportunities in the playoffs and did a good job for us. And so you just got to continue to develop that group.
As you have been able to reflect over the past month since the season came to an end, what have you learned about what this Bengals team needs this upcoming year? What's your biggest off-season priority as the head coach?
I think the guys that we got to continue to grow and improve at every position. We're going to continue to add pieces over the next 3 months. They're going to help us. And again, just finding the right pieces of the puzzle to put our best team on the field come August, and continue to develop the young talent that we got on this team. And again, we've the 2 losses we've had in both seasons have really come down to the last minute of the game. So we're really close. We believe that. We just got to fight and claw to get back in those positions.
We're here in Indianapolis. We got to ask about the draft. And what are your ideas on this draft class? Where's sort of the depth so far? Where's the value in this class?
Yeah, a little hard for me to say. I'm about 2 weeks into that process myself, and so I'm kind of getting my feet wet there. Duke and our scouting department have done a great job of getting us up to speed to be in a position to learn more about the guys this week. And then as we go back through over the next 30 days, we go to pro days and we get really in depth on these guys. So we got a pretty good baseline on what's going on here. I can't give you the insight into what's the best positions, not the best positions so far, but it's a process I really enjoy, getting caught up to speed with Duke and his crew, and it's a fun thing to take part in.
How nice is it to come here and not have to worry about the quarterback position? That has to be nice as a head coach.
Yeah, that's good. It's something you always got to be aware of because you're going to play against these guys, so you want to do your work there. But to know that you're really not up against it, figuring out which one's the best one and the best fit for you is nice to have that piece in place. And so again, we love that Joe is a part of what we're doing.
A lot of colleagues of yours aren't coming out to the combine. A lot of head coaches have just decided, our time is better served being in the offices and working with the staff. Why have you decided that this is where you need to be?
Well, we love being part of this process. We love getting to know these prospects, getting in these interviews, getting to watch them live, perform on the field. Some of our coaches are on the field helping with the drills. So any bit of insight we can get to help us draft the best class, we're going to take it. I enjoy it's only an hour and a half away from us, so we got guys that drive back and forth for the interviews and the workouts, and so having it here in Indy is great for our staff.
If a guy doesn't work out, do you hold that against them?
I think that's just one piece of the puzzle, so you just group everything in together. It's hard to say on an isolated incident, so again, you want the guys to work out and put the best foot forward so you can see everything you can about them. But again, you're going to watch the game tape, you're going to watch the All-Star game tape, you're going to watch the pro days, the combine workout. It's all part of the process to form an opinion on a player.
Pete Prisco knows about watching the tape, so does Cincinnati Bengals head coach Zac Taylor. Zac, thanks so much for the time.
You bet. Thank you guys for having me on.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.